to the Over the Line podcast. I'm your host, James McGee. This podcast is dedicated to reshaping the future of American soccer by having real conversations about the challenges holding our system back and exploring the opportunities to help take the game over the line. My mission is simple: to uncover the truth, amplify the voices of trailblazers, and help educate the next generation of players and parents so they can navigate the system and help unlock their full potential, both on and off the field. If this conversation inspires you, challenges your perspective, or adds value to your journey, please be sure to rate, review, and share it so we know it's making an impact. Now, let's dive into today's episode. From Dallas to Belgium, from captain to coach, Coach Dillon has lived the game at every level. Growing up in Cedar Hill, Texas, he made his mark at University of Central Arkansas, captaining the team for 2 years while earning individual and team honors. After college, he competed in the PDL and the PASL, trained with clubs in Belgium and Germany, and pushed himself in pro environments before shifting his focus to coaching. He spent 6 years with FC Dallas Youth Academy, developing young talent before launching Vedral Soccer Academy, where he now trains players of all ages, including the youth looking to break through and professionals fine-tuning their game in the off-season. From player to coach, from club soccer to pro environments, he's seen it all, and today he's here to share his journey and his insights. Dillon, welcome to the Over the Line podcast. Great to have you on.
Hey, James, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So your motto for Vedral Soccer Academy is turning kids into soccer players. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so it started off really low key and basic. Was with after college and after trying to go and play in the professional ranks, I came back to Dallas, where I'm originally from. Ran into an old coach, and he was very high up in the youth system, and then went on and coached at the women's pro league, which has since disbanded, and now it's the NWSL. Anyhow, I was playing some semi-pro indoor, ran into him. He was asking what I was doing and what I was involved in, and said kind of lost. Had just lost my mom. Was back doing some family things, taking care of my dad, and then he was like, well, why don't you stay in the game and get into coaching? My brother-in-law is the youth director at FC Dallas. So got in with Chris Hayden, and from there had 6 years as a head coach and 1 year prior as kind of a floating assistant coach with the 2000 and 2001 boys. Uh, Left that after 6.5, 7 years, and was like, man, I'm really siloed into these 18 players in the 2001 age group. It was great. We really, went out and won some tournaments on the competitive level. We were in the top division in Dallas, which is at the time called the Classic League, for that U11, U12 age group. And things were going really well. And then I realized, man, I'm having a lot of issues internally with myself, just working with these 18 players. I'd like to expand the horizons and work with some higher level players, some lower level players.
Yeah.
So I took a nice little 3 month break, focused on myself. And within those 3 months, I didn't jump right back into coaching, but I reached out to a few recreational programs and just said, hey, are there any parents that are coaches out there that would like an actual coach to come in and maybe run a little bit of the sessions at no cost? I just want to jump back into the grassroots level and see if there's any interest there. And out of all of the emails, I got one email response from a mom who was like, I played soccer growing up. It's changed a lot. But I've got a daughter that's 6 years old, and we've got a rec team called I think they were called the Pixie Sticks. And I was like, sign me up. So went out there. They would have practice once or twice a week, but I know I was there for the first 30 to 45 minutes of their practice once a week. And let's say they had 7 or 8 girls. I could tell right away that there was 4 players that were focused, interested in the game. And so I just worked on some very minimal basic skills of right foot, left foot, getting just trying to maximize the amount of touches within that 30 to 45 minutes, just due to attention span of a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I got a lot of great feedback. I was doing no marketing. I was under no name besides Coach Dillon, and some things started to spread like wildfire across, the other rec teams going, why are these girls, training with this guy, and how are they getting, better and winning some of these games by, multiple goals? So from there, I started to say, hey, let me open up a little camp to some of these rec players in that same league. And it turned out to be, I'm promoting, oh, Division 1 former player, oh, this. And it's just on a little basic pamphlet and handed out around the rec group. And had my brother show up, who was a D1 player, had 2 other players that were college players come out, and we had 12 kids. And 8 of those were the pixie sticks. And, I'm like, man, this is humbling. Like, I can't get anybody out here. So that was camp one. And then started to get traction of those 4 girls that were very focused. They ended up leaving the recreational team and going into what we call as like an academy level, a junior level for the like U7 to U10 range.
Yeah.
And they went into their respective clubs locally, and some of the parents were asking them. So it started to get passed around that, hey, we work with Coach Dillon in this area. And some of those players started to get siblings that were getting older, and they were interested in joining. So gradually it turned into, all right, let's create something. Vedral Soccer Academy, Vedral being my last name. Went with the red, white, and blue being American and Czech Republic descent.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that all comes together. And in the original question, turning kids into soccer players, that's how it all started. As far as Vedral Soccer Academy, going out to, it was literally a neighborhood with a patch of grass in the middle, and that's where they did training. And I was trying to do my best to turn these kids that were 6 years old into loving the game and potential soccer players down the road. Think one of those players actually, Anna Lee, is committed to a college program, and she'll be a freshman this coming year. So that was really, really cool to see.
Awesome. Yeah.
And a few of them are currently playing high school, and then it's kind of just gone from there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think kind of like in your whole background story and how all of that started, I think it's really cool that like your first priority in doing that when you got back into the game was like to go serve the next generation of kids, like not for money, not for anything like that. It was just to go serve whoever wanted you to come out for free and coach these kids. You wanted to be there at the grassroots level and serve them. And I think just when I first met you, it was training for the TST team. And
Yep.
just like from that, I could tell just you being there running those sessions, like your passion for the game of soccer and your passion for coaching and the next generation and just encouraging and teaching. So I could tell that from the first time I met you, and your story just kind of further emphasizes that. And then on top of that, you work a full-time job and you're doing Vedral Soccer Academy. So you're going 9 to 5, and then a lot of your nights are taken up, some things on the weekends too. So it's so obvious like how passionate you are about this. Why is this so near and dear to your heart?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I've been around the game since I was 3 years old. My mom knew of soccer. My dad was from South Dakota, moved to Dallas around um, high school-ish range. My dad's side of the family is very, very, very athletic. I'm only 5'6", so I didn't get too much of those athletic genes or size, but they're very well known in the track, wrestling, and football realm.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up playing soccer while all my cousins were on ESPN playing for Nebraska when Nebraska was good, and those were
Okay.
my heroes. I looked up to them
Yeah.
like they're pro, they're the real deal. And then I'd go to a family event. My grandfather on one side would be like, "Boy, baseball is where the money's at," and then my other grandfather was saying, "Why are you playing soccer? You need to play football. It's tougher." And
Yeah.
so. I stuck where I was good. I was really good at soccer, and what's awesome is that has been able to translate into the coaching side of things because not all players that are good at a sport can then, coach and relay that message to the youth players. And fortunately, I've got that ability. I didn't go on and play in a World Cup
Right.
or anything like that I aspired to do, but I am fortunate to say that I've coached some players that are now playing professionally. One of my players has gone on to play in a futsal World Cup. He's currently playing professionally at with FC Dallas, and then I've had a number of players we work with that are actually with the youth national teams from USA, Puerto Rico, and all those. So it's really cool, and that's what drives me and keeps me going is seeing these kids go on and progress and thrive and experience not just things that I experienced, but way beyond.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, they're getting exposure now to things that, I couldn't have even dreamed about. So it's really, really special to see. And that's what really continues to get me to, grab my equipment bag and show up to these sessions before they even start and get prepared to push that next player to those levels.
Sure. No, and I resonate a lot with what you're saying too. Like you want to take all your experiences and pass that on to the next generation and let your ceiling be their floor. Like help them make it farther than you ever could have. Like that's like what my goal is in doing this. And obviously like for you and other people that are doing that, I think that's kind of what pushes us and makes us want to do that is serving the next generation for sure, reaching way farther than we ever could have.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah, no,
exactly.
I think that's awesome. You were talking about some of the people that you've coached that have gone on to play at some of those higher levels. What are some of the attributes that you've seen from the best players you've coached or played with, and what separates them to help them reach that highest level?
So, remind me because I might forget, but let's start on players that I played with that got to the highest level. One of the players, Ramon Nunez, played in the World Cup for Honduras. He was a buddy of mine since the age of 8 or 9. Was a teammate, then a um, player on the opposition on some club years, and buddies to this day. He had a drive that was incredible, but he also had a dad that was extremely knowledgeable of the game. That when he got home, he wasn't just in the front yard like I was, knocking the ball around. All of my instruction was from watching like 1994 World Cup videos,
Yeah.
watching Corvair videos on VHS, making things up as I went, hitting the ball against the side of the house or the fence, or playing against older kids in the neighborhood. Meanwhile, the training that Ramon was getting at home was very purposeful. There was meaning behind why we're doing this in this situation, from free kicks to when you take a player on, things
Yeah.
that I had never seen before at the youth level, him bending the ball, on a corner kick intentionally to score, and we're 10 years old.
Yeah.
Um, so small things like that. And then we had Kenny Cooper later in my high school ages who went on to play for Manchester United reserves and all within the MLS and in Germany. It goes back to, who is your support group. His dad is to this day one of the most, just positive, uplifting people I've ever been around. And he played professional at as a keeper.
Yeah.
So again, he's going home. He's eating, sleeping, and living the game, but his
Yeah.
dad's giving him little tidbits of information that are setting him up for success. And a lot of people asked Kenny while he was growing up, or asked his dad, Kenny Cooper Sr., how's your boy not a goalkeeper? And he goes, well, he's a striker. He shoots on me all the time. And I can tell him what keepers don't like and angles and how things, look that confuse keepers
Yeah.
or how to put a keeper off, or when to shoot because the keeper's not, ready for it. So things like that, I think, um, really did help those players get to that next level. Something that many of us don't get. And then as far as the players that I've coached that I've seen get to those youth national team levels or get to the pro levels, um, you can have all the talent and technical ability in the world, but if you don't have the discipline and work ethic to get up and grind every day, you won't even make it in college.
Yeah.
Um, you'll never make it. Could you imagine being one of the very best players in the nation as an attacking player, a number 10, win the collegiate um, championship, be the offensive MVP of all the college um, NCAA for Division One, have an opportunity to go trial at Ajax, make it, they want you, and you tell them, no thanks. I have a friend that is that guy. And he told him no thanks because he realized on his 2 to 3 week stint in Ajax, this is no longer fun and games anymore. This is like
Yeah.
keeping food off the table for a 35-year-old that's on the back end of his career that wants to take me out because A, I'm an American kid that shouldn't be here.
Right.
B, um, if he does well, the 35-year-old is limited on time.
Yeah.
And it goes back to kind of like what we talked about of things have to be taken seriously, whether you're a coach, a player, or whatnot, because everything you do will impact your situation at home. The better you do on the soccer field or as a coach, and it's more professional, more organized, obviously, more people are going to see that you're serious about it. Um, and that allows you to get more money or more opportunities or whatnot. And then things at home, I'm not going to say are easier, but they're not as bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that drive from a lot of the players that we work with, you can see from let's just talk about the 8 to 12-year-old kids. You can see who's being driven there by their parents and being pushed out of the car door by
Yeah.
the parent. You can see
Yeah.
I've got a particular kid that's in the FC Dallas program that I believe he's U11 or U12. He if he could Uber, he would jump in an Uber and be there. He gets there early, not because mom and dad tell him. He's waiting at the house. He gets there and then he's working and warming up with his resistance bands on the field,
Yeah.
sometimes in the way. And I'm like, hey, scoot over. Uh, Before his session's even ready to go, like 20 minutes before. And
Yeah.
and that's not a private session that he's looking for. This is him preparing for a group session of 10 to 15 other kids. And he's there 20 minutes early, again, on the field, mentally and physically getting ready. And those type of players are setting themselves up for success. Um, because he's really starting to, put this into perspective that, it sadly it is a job and the real professional level as far as the business and everything is very cutthroat. It's tough. Not
Yeah.
everyone can do it. Not everyone can even wake up and do their corporate job,
Right.
to a 1% ability. And you've got players that do it in, the Olympics, the NBA, the NFL, while being scrutinized day in and day out on social media.
Yeah.
Uh, so good thing people don't follow me on my day job, so but yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. No, I agree too. And I think like it comes back to a couple common themes that we've talked about. Like for me and kind of the other guests that I've had on too, like the mentality when we talk about what separates, from the youth level to someone that reaches the highest level. Ultimately, for me, I've seen it. Like it's the mentality, be it the discipline and everything that you're talking about, but even taking it a step further in the ability to go in and make a mistake and take that scrutiny or whatever comes with that and just not care. Look it in the eyes, keep going, get the next thing right, not let that destroy them, destroy their will, destroy their love for the game, but just keep going, not worried about making mistakes too. That's some of the guys that I've played with that are still playing now could be have their coach screaming in their face and they don't even bat an eye. They don't care. They just go take another risk, score a goal, whatever it may be. It's crazy the difference in mentality at like those top levels. And when you get to the highest level, the talent level isn't that big. You know, there's the one off, there's the Messi, the Ronaldo, right? But everyone is very close. It's the mentality, the discipline, the ability to make a mistake and move on. That's what like truly, truly separates. And to hone in on what you said too, just about that discipline and the professional environment and all that goes into that too. I think that's one of the things where we in the US fall so short compared to Europe and overseas, especially from the youth level on. Like at the youth level, you're going and playing in one of those academies. It's a true professional environment from the young ages, right? And then in the US, you have all these different club environments and all that kind of stuff, kids showing up late all the time. You know, it's just a completely different ball game in terms of the environments that we're putting these kids in, for sure.
Completely agree. And there's two things that came to mind while you're talking about that. So two players out of Dallas that had, for me, not just long but exceptional MLS careers. One is Shea Salinas, played at San Jose Earthquakes for quite some time. Not the flashiest guy on the ball, but man, that guy was the fittest player on the field
Yeah.
every year. From the beginning of his career to the end of his career, he made sure fitness was a priority, taking care of his body. So that's something to include. And then another guy out of Dallas who actually is to this day still one of my good buddies, Lee Wynn. Um, he is he is a interesting mentality both on and off the field. He expects to win and hates to lose.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you know we're playing chess. We used to play chess often. Um, it could be chess, it could be horse on the basketball court. He is going to make sure that he does not lose.
Yeah.
And the golf course, extremely competitive. So that competitive itch is something that pushed him to be that LAFC player, that New England player, that really high level MLS attacking player. Because winning was great, but he'd get out of the locker room any games that I would be there. I'd be waiting outside to say, "Hey, congrats," and he'd be like, "Yeah, on to the next day. It's another win. Let's go
Yeah.
grab some food." But a
Yeah.
loss would eat him up. Like
Right.
it was totally different mindset. Yet you got some kids that go, we're upset we lost, but it's because we're supposed to, we're not supposed to win every game or whatnot, or we're supposed to lose or whatever it may be, or this kid wasn't good enough and didn't do this. It's like, no, you have to step up and win. And let's not, let's take it upon ourselves. But also, what did you do prior to set yourself up for success? So
Right.
those players, Lee would really set himself up for success from day one, training with multiple club teams within his club that were years older. So his session would finish and he would ask the director, hey, who's training next? Oh, 2 years up. And the dad's like, Lee, go on, get back out there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's that type of mentality.
No, that makes total sense. And yeah, I think like you said too, that work rate, that will to win, hating to lose more than guys love to win too. Like that's what separates for sure. Um, I think taking it back to your time at FC Dallas Youth Academy, like they're known as one of the top developers of talent in the US for sure. They've put out a bunch of great players going and playing overseas. What are some of the biggest things that you learned from your time there?
Well, first off, kudos to all those coaches that are coaching club soccer because it's very tough. It's a grind. These coaches are, stepping away from their family, not just on the weekdays, but the weekends, week in and week out, away from their own kids
Yeah.
to go and help your kids. Yeah, they're being paid. Um, but at the same time, the demands on these coaches are wild.
Yeah.
They could have 15 to 18 players, and it's common these days that most of these kids don't have the set of two parents. They have a divorced, set of parents. So now you could have, instead of two upset parents, you could have four.
Yeah.
So now you're getting four calls or a set of text messages from stepmom, stepdad, while you're spending time with your family or at work.
Yeah.
Like I would be at work and often have to step out to, hey, let me take this call real quick. Is little Johnny sick? No, we're concerned. You put him at left midfield. He's a right midfielder. Can we address this at practice? Oh, no, you want to address it now. Okay. All right. So things like that. So that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
Um, but man, yeah, it's FC Dallas was great. Um, it has some exceptional coaches within the program, and not all of the coaches are still there since I was there. Um, but I grew up in a few clubs here in Dallas, and one of the clubs I ended on was Dallas Inter, which FC Dallas then um, bought that club, and
Yeah.
that way they had a farm system underneath. So some of the coaches that were at Dallas Center actually are still there, which is pretty amazing. Jesse Suarez is one of the guys, and he's impacted players such as Weston McKennie, Jesus Ferreira, Kellen Acosta. Man, the list goes on. Pepe.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So there's so many players, Chris Richards, all these guys that have come up through
Yeah.
the system.
Yeah.
Um, but with that being said, I mean, it's just the competitive environment that Dallas sport brings to the table, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, or soccer.
Yeah.
It's wild. And Texas as a whole is very rich on the athletic side of things.
Sure.
We really promote youth development, youth competitions, things like that. So um, it's not solely FC Dallas, although they've been great. There's a number of clubs that have really developed some incredible individuals here in the area.
Yeah. No, for sure. So, like we talk about the club game and all of that in general and all the different clubs in Dallas. And you've spent some time in there. I know you're a little bit removed from being in the club environment and all of those sorts of things, but what do you think that as we're looking to serve the next generation in the clubs you've worked for experientially or what you've heard and all that kind of stuff, what do you think that the clubs can improve on in terms of serving the next generation of kids? Where can we get better? Be it just in Texas or from like a nationwide perspective of how can we better serve the next generation of kids?
Man, that is a very tough, question to answer. There's so many opinions.
Yeah,
It depends on what direction you want to go. You could say, hey, we need to spend more time on the mentality side of things of the game, of really getting an IQ and understanding of what you should do in certain situations. I think that's where Spain, is really good.
yeah,
They understand how and when to do certain build outs or when to take advantage of another opponent based on formation or time of the game. Are we up? Are we down? Things like that. Then you could go the other avenue of, well, of course, the US is so big and we have so many high level players that so many slip through the cracks. You could say a lot of that has to do with geography of how big we are or the fact that it's pay to play.
yeah,
So, these clubs, even at the highest level, some of these owners are, making a lot of money, but um, not a ton of money is going into the US pro system like a Manchester United or Real Madrid, where they can fund,
yeah,
um, a men's and women's farm system all the way down.
yeah,
And then even Real Madrid and Barcelona, they're throwing in a little farm system in the US to, rake in even more money to afford to
yeah,
capitalize on their locals.
yeah,
So, it depends on what avenue you want to go on that conversation, but there's a lot that could improve, but we are better than we were.
Yeah.
Uh, and we're consistently learning and growing and making changes. Some of those changes are hard decisions that a lot of these higher ups are living by. But at the end of the day, it's going to make U.S. soccer better, and we are getting better. I mean, we're seeing, look at the number of players in the Italian league. Look at the number of players that are overseas that, you know, that aren't just on these rosters, but are really impacting results, which is for me, it's amazing, and I think it's going to become even more and more common as some of these kids out of California, Dallas, Philadelphia, New York, Florida, wherever it may be, that are really high profile players. Some of those kids are going to actually live up to the hype and surprise a lot of people globally. Right now, we have the thought that if any player is Brazilian, then they're the best of the best
Yeah.
uh, because of the past of what we've seen from the flair and the ability of all these Brazilian players. I'm not expecting the American player to have that kind of impact in 5, 10 years. Um, I'm not expecting the number of rosters to have that many Americans as there are Brazilians, but I want to inch closer and closer to where it's more common to go through Wikipedia, look through and you see the country flag on the roster, and instead it's the one American. I want to see, oh, we've got 3 Americans on the top team, and in the reserves there's two, you
Yeah.
know, so more commonplace. Um, but there's changes that are happening both for the better, some for we'll find out if they're for the better or not, but at least we are going up. So that's good.
No, I agree with that too. And I think I think ultimately when you look at it and you look at where we were at 20 years ago compared to where we are now, it's pretty clear like we're on the right track in terms of where we are going. And I think it's easy to kind of point to all the issues that we have everywhere along the way, right? But a lot of them are complicated issues. But ultimately, I think we are on the right track. And I think it's people like yourself that are putting their money where their mouth is. Like you have some issues, I'm sure, with the system, and you're doing what you're doing with Vedral Soccer Academy to help be that supplement to help develop the next generation of players. And like that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I've had a lot of issues with the US system, and it's like it's one thing to just sit there and complain about it. It's another thing to kind of go out there and try to do things and be the change that you want to see, right? And you talk about kind of the creativity and flair of Brazil, like that's what they're known for. Like that's what the Brazilians are known for. You think of the American player, you certainly do not think of creativity. And so that's like one of the things in what I am passionate about doing is helping the next generation become better technically, become more creative, more individualized. Soccer, you look at the top players, they all have their own unique flair and personality that they add to the game. And some of our top players, especially like Pulisic, like he has his own personality to the game, right? Can we just develop that more as a country? And like for me, it's can we attack that individual development at those younger age groups to help them develop that when they get older? That's where kind of my biggest issue lies with it's a zero-sum game at the club level. And I don't think all of the clubs, all of the coaches necessarily spend the requisite time focusing on individual development, especially at those younger ages. So that's kind of where like I want to step in and kind of be that change. And I think you as well, like from what I've seen and like from our discussions, you're focused on individually developing all these kids.
Yeah, that's right. And so speaking of Pulisic, I think he's got more personality on the field than off, but that's another topic. Uh,
Yeah.
as far as like the development, like think of anyone that's 30 and older. I don't know if you could say that through the entirety of your youth career, you had a soccer coach that played soccer. So
Yeah.
now with these generations passing, where the current generation is coming in and their U4 coach, their very first ever coach was a former soccer player. And that's something that hasn't ever happened here. It
Right.
was really rare to have a coach on your very first team that wasn't a dad or a football coach. Even to this day, a lot of high school coaches are football coaches. They're dual coaches.
Yeah.
It's less of the pay on the payroll for the high school to deal with.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it allows yourself and myself to have this opportunity to say, hey, you know, you can get this individual trainer or this trainer where you can go work with through private sessions, group sessions, camps. That did he go in and go on and win the World Cup? Did he play in Champions League? No. Is he going to help you progress? And did he play the game at a high enough level to where he can then translate that to you? All these kids are sponges. They're
Yeah.
going to visually see it, soak it up, and at least get close to try to mimic it.
Right.
Are they going to hit it the first time? No. Are they going to, hit the far post the second and third time? Maybe.
Yeah.
But they're going to get close and they're going to see how it's done. And then you'll be there quickly to correct it, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I was fortunate um, to have a younger 20s coach that did play soccer, my first ever coach. But then my third coach played with Pelé on the Brazil team.
Yeah.
So Teodoro Santana. Why was he in Dallas? Well, there was a league that started up that Pele played for the Cosmos. He was the Brazilian that came over for the Tornadoes, the Dallas Tornadoes. So he got here, realized that he had more opportunity here, and I just was fortunate that my team, landed him.
Yeah.
So that was really, really special. But it was also not only did he have the insight and knowledge of the game and could still do it at such a an older age, but we had someone that we, looked up to and we aspired to be. It was like, whoa, this guy played with Pele. Like, this
Right.
is incredible. Here's pictures that he has of the two of them in the yellow Brazil top.
Yeah.
So things like that. And now these days, all of these kids are interacting with so many high level coaches um, and doing, like you said, creative drills or challenging drills, not just roll the ball out there and let's scrimmage and then the
Yeah.
fastest player in or the biggest player is going to thrive for that hour of scrimmaging.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty special. But something else to hit on is like measurables on all these trainings for these parents and the players. Um, if you were a rec coach and you just rolled the ball out, you would say your best player is the guy who just scored the 4 goals in the game.
Yeah.
But we have to, as Americans, we have to take away different measurables and goals and not base it on assists and goals only. Uh,
Right.
how many times are we attempting to beat our player? Okay, let's try to beat our player on the dribble and get a cross off. Okay, were you successful 1 out of 4 times? All right, great. Now the next attempt for next game, let's try to get 2 out of 4 times and
Yeah.
build on that. That way, as a parent, you have something to talk about in the car outside of the win and the loss.
Yeah.
So,
No, no, for sure. I totally agree. Changing tracks a little bit. You've been running Vedral Soccer Academy for over 10 years now. What do you know now that you wish you knew then as a coach?
um, wow, that's a really good question. Let's see here. It it takes, I don't care if you're a small business owner of a donut shop, a pet store or whatever it may be, soccer trainer. It takes a lot of time to get it right, a lot of time to build it up to the level that you see it to be quote unquote successful. By
Yeah.
no means am I at a level right now that I'm comfortable and think that I'm towards the top. I have way more aspirations and goals to get there. But you have to take a step back, and no matter what you've done in your playing career, it really doesn't matter because I have a number of players that I've worked with in the past that are pro level players that I've trained, and they come over and want to run a camp, and no one signs up because you have to build your community,
Yeah.
and those parents have to see the worth that you're putting in. So looking back from the to the beginning, I need to understand that, it's a marathon, not a race. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of emails, a lot of texts, a lot of
Yeah.
just building relationships is something that fortunately um, some may agree, some may disagree, but I feel like I've done it in the right way to, let the company grow, but most importantly, really impact these players that they can look back and say that they had a positive coach and experience, whether it's myself or anyone else on my staff, that helped them become passionate about the game.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I'm going through some of the same things that you were talking about. That's kind of the stuff that I'm going through right now and learning as I go. And I think one of the big things that I'm learning is, like you said, like even if you're a former professional player, like maybe that helps you out a little bit in terms of giving you the reputation or whatever that may be. But ultimately, it's about building the trust with these families, with the parents, with the kids to know that you have their best interests at heart and you're trying to serve these kids and helping them achieve the highest level possible for them, right? Like, can you build that relationship exactly like how you said is super important. And that's something that I'm learning kind of as I go too. Like that's ultimately what they care about the most is that you have their son or daughter's best interest at heart.
Yep.
Um, you,
And
you
and
kind
that's
of talk,
exactly right.
go ahead.
Role models number one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You talked about kind of it being a marathon, not a sprint, and you're not comfortable with where you're at now. What would you say you see the 10-year vision for Vedral Soccer Academy? What's the ultimate goal?
yeah, so we don't have any teams. I've been asked quite a bit. Are you looking to build a club? Are you looking to do teams? That's not the plan. We've done some one-off 3v3 teams just for fun, just to kind of unite and bring together some of the players that we do train that are around the same age group, whether it's adding, two girls, four boys, and just doing like a co-ed team that we train,
Yeah.
having fun with it. We did that last week for President's Day. It was a great time. We had a 2017 and a 2016 team, so real young, just threw in six players and had fun with it. So, it's not something we're looking to do long term, but getting that game, being on the sidelines again is always fun and interesting to see, who pairs well together,
Yeah.
even at the 3v3 level, and really seeing what our training allows and has done for them to then translate that into a game was really cool. But long term, I'd like to either be a partner or go in and create my own facility, some hub that we could all meet at to where we have training. Right now, we rent all of our locations,
Yeah.
which has been great. Everything's been so smooth and awesome. There are challenges to that with growth,
Sure.
space to time slots of availability.
Yeah.
We offer, homeschool options. So players that are homeschooled, we have midday sessions. We also have evening sessions, Saturday shooting, Sunday pickup. So I've all these different um, flavors of sessions that our staff, and I, offer. But if I could have a little bit more room and space from an outdoor option along with an indoor option, I think that would be more ideal, um, and really allow us to grow and expand to where I see us going.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that makes sense. And that's definitely a challenge, like the facilities aspect of it. And there there's just not an abundance of soccer facilities all over the place, or especially indoor facilities, right? Too. So that makes it tough for sure. You kind of talked about being on the sideline and watching with the 3v3 stuff, being on the sideline and watching them incorporate the skills that you've worked on. What is your philosophy in ensuring the skills that you work on with them in the technical sessions and in the individual and group sessions, how do you ensure that that translates to the game environment? What's your philosophy in terms of that?
So what we try to do is we really focus on, the technical aspect. We do introduce, sometimes to stop and point out some things throughout a possession drill or when we're working on 2v2s or 3v2s and explaining how that can relate to the game. Anytime we're doing some of the technical drills and it's a dribbling drill and we're changing directions or uh, introducing a new skill on how to beat a player, we not only demonstrate that to the players, but we also explain it into a game-like situation of, hey, let's imagine that this is the out of bounds line. Our
Yeah,
backs to outside the field, we're facing into the field, we're hesitating on this touch, and then we're gonna be explosive after we do this skill, and then let's get into space. And then from there, are we, trying to find a teammate to play to? Are we crossing the ball? Are we attacking that space to go to goal? So bringing up those situations is really what we do. And then um, typically we're extremely busy day to day, but there are occasions we'll drop out to the fields and uh, watch some of our players either play on the same team or play against one another. So that's really special because a lot of these players, they only know you as Coach Dillon at this training facility. And
right.
when you're outside of that environment, they're like, their eyes, get really
Yeah,
wide and they're like, what are you doing here?
yeah,
We're here to watch you.
for
You've
sure.
got to take what we've given you and you don't have to take everything. You
Yeah,
got to take bits and pieces or what you think is going to really help your game, and then let's add that to your toolbox and go and run with it. So
for sure. For sure. No, no, I agree with that. Like ultimately just giving these kids like more to their arsenal, more to their toolbox that they can go into a game environment. And they don't necessarily have to do the exact technical combo that you were working on with them, right? But they take bits and pieces of that and apply it. And like letting them know too, like that's one of the things I really focus on. Okay, we're working this technical move, right? It's just you by yourself explaining how this applies to the game, right? When can they actually use that in a game so they're not just sitting there thinking, oh, I don't really know why I'm doing this or when I would do that. Like I think that's an important application or to explain the application for them as well in that.
and what you did there was you built their confidence to believe they can do that challenging pattern.
Yeah,
Uh, and then from there, again, it's going to become instinctual that, whoa, how did I get out of this, sticky situation in the corner where there was three players
right.
that surrounded me? Nope, just got out and was able to keep possession or, get the cross or score the goal or whatever it may be. They'll look back at that and then they'll be surprised initially, and then mom and dad are on the sidelines going, "Holy shit, that's my kid!"
Yeah,
Oh wow, okay,
yeah,
awesome. Thank you, James, for working with them.
right.
When
For
can
sure.
you set up your next session?
Yeah,
So, small things like that. So,
yeah, for sure. Well, we're coming up on a little bit over 45 minutes, so I want to close this out with one two-pronged question, a little bit of added time. So, what would you say to a 12-year-old athlete that has a dream of playing professionally? What would you say to the kid, and what would you say to their parents?
ooh, so kind of like I mentioned, as far as like creating a business and getting Vedral Soccer, up and off the ground and running into the direction of success. That your career is a complete marathon. There are ups and downs, injuries, mental blocks. Um, you cannot be successful as an athlete if you do not have a support system. And
Yeah,
that support system is going to change throughout your career, out your life. But you have to have people in your corner that when you're down, lift you back up. When you get really, really, really high in the clouds, they bring you back down
yeah,
and say, hey, you hadn't won the World Cup yet, or you're down because you missed a PK to put your team to the, playoffs or to the next level. They have to tell you, hey, that's great. That's all right. We're gonna work through this. We're gonna go out and work on your penalty kicks, and we're gonna get better from that. So that support system a lot of the game that we talked about earlier is drive and hunger and mentality. So the mental side of things
Yeah.
um, can really mess with you if you can, get with somebody that's if you're at a higher level, moving into that collegiate rank or moving into a semi-pro or a pro level, having somebody that's going to talk to you the night before a game to get you mentally prepared, just reassurance that you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Like hey, you're good enough. Um, and then going into that that evening of sleep and just visualizing positive scenarios within the game against your opponent and going from there is really going to set you up for success. And parents introducing that early
Yeah.
is going to be awesome.
For sure. For sure. No, I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things too, like in working with the younger generation, like for me, that was what I struggled with the most when I got to the professional level is the confidence side of things. And once that went, I truly could never get it back. And that was something that's like it's a really fragile thing, right? And I've learned a ton from that too. And it's crazy. I didn't really start learning about that until that stage of my career, right? The more we can implement that at the younger ages, because that mental side of things is a practice just as much as physical on the field you're practicing, right? You have to get better at that and you will get better at it, but you have to practice it, right? And so the earlier we can incorporate that and teach that, the better.
Yep, agree.
Um, well, thank you, Dylan, so much for jumping on, sharing your insights, sharing your journey, Vedral Soccer Academy. Where can people find you?
Yeah, we're on vedralsoccer.com. You can also find us on Instagram for Vedral Soccer, Vedral. You can hit us up on TikTok, YouTube, whatever it may be. But if you're ever in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, be sure to reach out early and drop in for a training session.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. I appreciate you jumping on. Really good conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Over the Line podcast, hosted by James McGee. The conversation doesn't stop here. If we want to push U.S. soccer forward, we need to keep asking the tough questions, challenging the system, and finding real solutions. Together, we can educate the next generation of players and parents, helping them navigate the system and unlock their full potential on and off the field. But if we're serious about creating more pathways of opportunity for our players, it's going to take more than just me. It's going to take all of us. What do I mean by that? If this episode brought you value, take your commitment over the line by subscribing, leaving a review, and, if you feel inspired, helping send this message not just over the line, but straight into the top corner by sharing this podcast with someone who's just as passionate about changing the game. The only way we build real change is together. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep pushing, keep improving, and let's take the game over the line.